My name is Forrest Knight and welcome to iDev Journey episode 8. Now, if you don't know what this series is about, it's basically me going from zero to app. And right now we're in the learning phase. We're taking a course on Udemy, and what we're about to do is discuss a little bit about the section I just went through, which is about Git and GitHub. GitHub is an open source community where people share ideas, edit other people's codes, put their code out there for other people to edit and collaborate, in just an open source community. It's very good community, and I'd recommend anyone who's getting into software development to check it out. But before we go any further, I'd like to just point this out, is Xcode 8 is no longer in beta. It's actual release. It just happened recently. And with that, normally what I'll refer to, like the lecture we're about to get into is lecture 3. It's a coding warm-up and loops. And the Xcode 8 release caused DevSlopes to add more videos to this course. They actually added at least 2 to a lecture, or to section 2. Right now this is section 3. They added 2 videos to section 2. So that kind of messed up my lecture count. Luckily, I normally read out the lecture title. So if you're watching any of my past videos, or maybe even this, because in the future they may add more videos, previous to this one right here, or to what we're talking about right here, it might mess up my lecture count. So focus on the title of the lecture, not the number. So right now we're going to do lecture 33, coding warm-up loops. So we're going to go over to the computer and do that. So here we have section 3, lecture 33, Swift coding warm-up, alternating arrays. So our assignment is to write a function that combines 2 arrays by alternately taking elements. For example, given the 2 arrays a, b, c, and bow, row, me, the function should return a, bow, b, row, c, me. So in other words, we want our first array followed by our second array with 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, because the arrays start at 0. And then we want that to translate into our third array, which, that's basically what this is. So I knew where to start. I knew I had to declare 2 arrays with the given information inside of them. And after that, I needed to create a function. I named this function combined because, it makes sense. We had to combine these. And followed by that with the first and then second string, keeping the array syntax so it all works out. And we're basically putting that into one array. So we're combining both of those by appending the 0 from the first array, then the 0 from the second array, then the 1 from the first array, then the 1 from the second array, and so on until we run out. And I had a few syntax errors here. I was trying to figure it out. I realized I had a spelling error in the word combined in my function, as well as a space in between the lesser than sign and the word second in my for in loop. I had to take that out. I didn't realize that until I read the error message. And then I also had to make sure array 1 back under where I declared array 3 had the first colon in front of it. But the thing with this is if we were to have the array 1 have A, B, C, D, and E break in, it wouldn't translate the last 2 letters into array 3. So for anyone who's up for the challenge, go ahead and try to get this working with 2 mismatching arrays. So 1 array with 5 strings and then 1 array with 3. So now that we got that out of the way, we're not really even going to be coding this section. We're really just going to be talking about setting up Git and GitHub like I stated before. Lecture 34 is next, about version control. So the course is iOS 10 and Swift 3 by DevSlopes. Mark Price is the person who created it. He says always use version control. What version control is basically, say you have like a Word document. We're going to dumb it down a little bit for anyone to understand. You have a Word document and you have version 1. You know how you can edit it and then save over it? Instead of doing that, what you do is you edit it, and you save as, and you make it version 2. And then once you edit that one, you make it version 3. So you're able to refer back to your previous versions instead of just, overwriting one version and never being able to access that exact thing again. Because you may take out, in development, you may take out a line of code and replace it with something else, but maybe you needed that other line of code, you forgot what it was. Now you can't refer back to it if you didn't, make a new version. And that's where Git comes in. Git allows you to have version control. So basically, just like a small example is, let's say you have Git up here in the cloud. So what you do is you can commit to Git, you can pull the code from commit, edit the code, and then you can push it back. When you pull that code, so the file name merges with whatever file you already have. If it's not in sync, then it'll let you know, but if you already have the basis of this code and someone else had edited it, then what will happen when you pull it is it'll merge together, so you will have the updated version. And this will make more sense as the video goes on. So to lecture 35, it is Git basics. We started off using Git in the terminal window, and when Mark used his command line or commands, he didn't explain some of them, so I will explain some of them. You know, he kind of went over, and as you went through the video you could understand, but basically ls allows you to see what is in your current directory. So if you say, just type in ls enter, and you're in, you know, directory desktop, you see whatever files are on your desktop or folders or whatever it may be. CD stands for change directory, and you put CD and then you have to put a directory name after that is within the directory you did. So let's say you did ls and you see that directory iDev journey is in that. What you can do is you can say CD iDev journey, and then it'll take you to that directory, and then you can click, or you can type in ls enter again, and then you will see whatever is in iDev journey folder or directory. Directory is just a folder. mkdir is make directory. It makes sense. And that you type that in, you type in whatever you want to name the directory. So that's just making a folder. Remove I don't even know if he went over this. I don't think he did, but I'll let y'all know. rmdir is remove directory, and your directory has to be empty in order to do this. So if you go and make one, and right after you want to remove it, maybe you did a typo, you didn't feel like going back and changing it, so you just delete it and make a new one, you can do rmdir and remove that directory. You have to put the directory name right after that. Also, when you're typing in, let's say it's iDev journey, you can type in IDE and then hit tab, most likely, as long as you don't have anything else named something similar, and it'll autocomplete whatever you're typing in. And touch allows you to create a file. You put touch and then the file name you want to create. Instead of making a directory, you're making a file. So basically, this is just a bunch of Git commands. So there's Git. I'll put a list of it on the screen. You know, so there's Git init, which initializes. You have Git status, where when you type in Git status, and I say Git, you see it on the screen, GIT. It shows if your directory or files are tracked in Git repo. When you first make a directory and make a project that you want to push or commit to there, well, you have to commit it. You have to commit it before you're able to see the stat. Because if you type in Git status before you commit anything, it'll just be nothing. You'll have nothing. And what you want to do is you do the git commit -m and whatever you want to name that edit. So if you edited out a line of code, just say, cleared line 34 or whatever you want to put. I could just go over and read what each and every Git command does that we went over, but you can just pause this video and see the descriptions. So I just now decided that next to each of the Git commands, I'm going to put descriptions so you can kind of see what each one does. Lecture 36 is setting up GitHub. First, you want to sign up for GitHub and then generate an SSH key. Basically, an SSH key allows your computer to access remote servers like GitHub. So in this case, it is GitHub. We just kind of go through the steps. Not full-on steps, just kind of like we're pushing the right direction, because on GitHub, they have a full-on documented guide where it takes you through the steps of setting up or generating your SSH key. So what you need to do is you need to generate your SSH key, copy the PB copy, paste in terminal, and go to your GitHub account and add the SSH key. You hit add, you enter the password, appropriate password for it, and then you go on. So that probably wasn't a very good explanation. It wasn't all that great of an explanation in the video either. You just have to go through the guide. And one thing that he actually said, and that he stressed before, and that I stressed to y'all, is that you need to learn how to read documentation if you're going to be a software developer of any kind. You need to know how to go on to GitHub, look at their clearly laid out documentation on how to do this and figure out how to do it. You can't have someone holding your hand the whole way through. It's just not how the real world is. Lecture 37 is GitHub versus BitBucket. So basically GitHub is the open source community. You put something on GitHub, anyone is able to see it. Or you can pay, X amount of dollars per month and allow up to X amount or Y amount of private repositories. So I think if you spend like $7 a month, you can get 5 private repositories. If you pay more, you get more, of course. But BitBucket, you're able to get up to, 5? I think you're able to get up to 5 private repositories on BitBucket. So if you're creating, Mark said this is what he used for his professional, quote unquote, what does he say? I didn't write it down. For his professional work. So what if you're creating something for yourself, for a client, you can't just put it out on GitHub for anyone to see. What you have to do is put it on BitBucket or put it on GitHub after paying $7 a month in order to keep it private. You put it on BitBucket and you're able to, I guess, basically do the same thing as you would on GitHub. So I've never used BitBucket. He didn't really go over it. He just kind of said, BitBucket, use it for your private stuff because you can do a good amount for free. And then GitHub is for public. Lecture 38, local and remote Git repos, which repos is short for repositories. So in this lecture, what we did was we created an Xcode project and we created a GitHub repository and pushed our GitHub project or our Xcode project up into GitHub. And the way Mark does it, like towards the beginning of the video, he's like over here and he does this and he does that and he does that. I probably, if it was me, I would have cut it out, but it's not my course. Plain and simple. But after he does that, he goes over, after I had written it all down, he goes over a way that takes like 10% of the time, if that. So basically what you do, let me see, you create your Xcode project. So you already have everything set up. You have your SSH key hooked up to your remote server on GitHub, which I already told you how. You just go to the documentation, you read, you generate the key, you copy, you paste, all that good stuff. And then what you do is you create an Xcode project, then create a GitHub repo without a README file. And when you don't do the README file, they provide you steps, which it has, Git in it, I think. It has all those steps, like you initialize it and you do all this other good stuff. And then you're able to commit, pull, push, do whatever you need to do between your Xcode project and GitHub. Lecture 39, working through Git merge conflict. So basically what a Git merge conflict is where, say you have the cloud again, like we discussed earlier, and coder A, I'm coder A, excuse me, and we have coder B over here. There's not really anyone over there, but just pretend. And we already have code up there. I pull the code, I edit line 34 in this file of the code. And then I push the code back up there. Before I pushed the code back up there, I was editing it. He edited his code on the same line 34 of the same file. So he changed the same line I did, which in turn is really just bad communication. I shouldn't be working on the same thing that my team is working on, and vice versa. So I should be working on this aspect of the application. They should be working on this aspect. So this shouldn't happen anyway. If it does, you need to have better communication. But basically what would happen is if he pulled it in, GitHub notices that the previous line came from me. It wasn't the original that he started to edit. So it gives it a sync conflict. So it can't sync together. And what it does, you're able to open up Xcode project, you go to that line, it guides you to that line, and it shows you this is what you did, this is what this person did, and then what you should do at that point is he should talk to me, or we should talk to each other, but if he's the one that found the problem, he should come to me, talk, and we'll figure out that I was right, he was wrong, so we'll keep my code in there. And then we just take out what he did. We take out the little bit of syntax that GitHub had put in there because of the merge conflict or the sync conflict. and then we put it back up into this little cloud, our GitHub repo, and we're good to go at that point. Lecture 40, GitHub Desktop. So this whole section we've been using Git and GitHub with the terminal window. So our Git commands, Git init, Git commit, all that good stuff, we had to enter into the terminal. Instead of using the GUI that GitHub provides, which is their desktop, you download it onto your computer, and it just makes things easier for some people. If you're more of a visual person like me, I like desktop a lot more than just using terminal, then you'll like this better. But you should know both. It's good to know both because sometimes you'll need to use one or the other in a pinch. Terminal window is normally faster because you just type in it. It's faster if you know how to use it well. And basically what we do is he just kind of says, all right, you download it. Simple. You download it, and then we kind of go through the steps of it, which I will refresh myself on, but I've actually done a video on like this aspect before in my it's called how to make a resume 100% free, which it actually is, because with GitHub what you can do is you create a website, which I told people to take off of my GitHub account, and you're able to you're able to download my website, you edit it, you put your pictures and your information in, and then you push it to your GitHub. You have to make a GitHub page, and I don't want to go into full detail, but it's free hosting. The only thing you would have to pay for, the only thing you would pay for is if you wanted to get a custom URL. Otherwise, you'll get whatever you choose. So mine is forrestknight.github.io. If you want something like, yourname.com, then you'd have to see if that's available and then go buy that. And then you're able to easily integrate it into GitHub. But I go through all of GitHub and all of that process in the video. I linked it up over here or over there, whatever. And I don't feel like if you want to know how to get through GitHub, I've actually gone through it, so go check that video out. And just like anything else, the more you play with it, the better you're going to get with it. So if you use desktop a lot, just play with it, mess with it a little bit, you're going to learn how to use it. Sometimes it's hard to learn, just like that Xcode section or Xcode lecture back in section 1, I think it was. It was about Xcode 8, all these little shortcuts and stuff. It's I'm never going to remember any of this until I actually need it and use it. I can't sit here and say, all right, okay, so this button does that. I will never remember any of that until I actually use it. So that's kind of the thing with GitHub as well, except there's not really too much complexity to it. You're able to do all your commands, like commit, init, I believe. Yeah, you can do all the good stuff, and it's just simply laid out there for you. We're going to finish off this video with an exercise. It's lecture 41, pushing your code to GitHub. This is the last lecture of section 3, and it's just kind of to do a little bit like I was just talking about. You learn more when you actually do. That's what we're going to do with this. So we're going to make sure that you have GitHub downloaded, and we're going to play with it a little bit and push your code, whether it's just a README. I don't know. We'll find out on the screen. Let's go. So this is the final exercise of section 3, pushing to GitHub. And sorry to skimp out on this a little bit, but as you can see, it says create folder, code project, put files in, create GitHub account, a new repo, and do all this, add SSH. And I can't do that because I have already joined. I joined like a year ago on GitHub. I don't do much on it. I have one other account because I have 2 different websites. One's here, and you can only have one website on it for free at a time. That could have changed, I don't know, but at the time. So I created a whole other account in order to have another website. Speaking of website, that's not what I wanted to do. Here's my website, actually. And like I said before, this is the information. I need to update it, actually. So I'll probably be doing that soon, and I'll be pulling and then pushing back up. So that's basically what this is doing. You do all this stuff, create GitHub, repo, Xcode project, which I don't have any Xcode projects on my GitHub. I need to change that. And then add SSH, pull from GitHub. I actually did this in the video I talked about earlier, saying how you could come over here and take my website and then just change it to make it yours. I actually did it in that video. So like I said, it's in the YouTube card. You can go check that out, and then you push back to GitHub, and then you have the end result. So like I said, sorry to skimp out on that one, but I can't do most of this, or else it'll just mess things up. I've already made one test account and then 2 like regular accounts, so I'm not going to make another one. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Next Friday, we're going to go over section 4, foundational iOS. I don't know if we're going to split that up into 2 videos or not. We'll see how long it'll take. But until then, have a good one.